Coach Nestor Lorenzo, John, how are you doing? Fabio Poveda, Blue Radio, Gol Caracol, we are streaming live for Blue Radio. Coach, first and foremost, there's a forced absence, that of Jefferson Lerma, because of the accumulation of yellow cards. And in the previous game, you changed the left wing. Do you have any questions as to the rest of the lineup? Or could you anticipate the lineup? I mean, no harm in asking, right? Do you know who's going to fill in for Jefferson Lerma? And for John, the whole country believes that Colombia has the responsibility of beating Panama. So, what would you tell everyone that thinks that that Colombia is so much more than Panama?
Bueno, buenas tardes a todos primeramente.
Good
Yo creo
afternoon, everyone.
que bueno, es lo normal, es lo natural
I
debido a
believe
la
that
meta
it's only natural
que con el trabajo que venimos haciendo hemos creado grandes
because of the
expectativas
work we've been
en nuestro
doing
país, en la gente
has
que nos apoya,
created great
que nos motiva durante toda
expectations
la copa,
among our fan base
la gente
in our country
que ha
as
llenado los
well.
estadios, que ha llenado
Throughout
los
the
hoteles.
tournament,
Yo
we've
creo que es algo normal.
felt the
Pero
support
realmente
of everyone
que
that
ese
has
triunfo nos
filled
llega a
the
nosotros,
stadiums
porque
and the
nosotros hemos
hotels.
ido paso a paso,
But
porque somos una selección
we
muy
are not
consciente
being overly
de todas nuestras
optimistic.
virtudes, de todas
We are going
nuestras
step by
fortalezas,
step.
pero
We
que sabemos que
are
también
completely aware of
una de
every
ellas
one
es
of
la
our
humildad.
strengths.
Sabemos que mañana
But we also know that one
contra
of our
Panamá va a ser un
greatest
partido
strengths is
bastante difícil,
humility.
un partido
And
bastante
we know that
complejo,
the match
porque
against
Panamá
Panama
tiene
tomorrow is going to be
todos
tough,
los
it's
méritos
going to
para
be
estar
complex,
en estos cuartos de final
because
y que es un rival
Panama
que merece todo
has
nuestro
earned
respeto.
it to be in the
Entonces, de
quarterfinals
nuestra
and
parte,
it
realmente
deserves
estamos
our
tomando
utmost respect.
el partido con
So
Panamá
we
con la seriedad y con la
personally
responsabilidad
are going to take
que
on that
requiere un
match
partido de
with
cuartos
the
de final de la Copa
responsibility
América.
and the seriousness of any other match in the quarterfinals of Copa America. Good afternoon. The natural replacement for Lerma are Uribe and Castaño. So it's going to be one of the two. And as for the other question, well, the soccer players do not know the lineup yet. We are going to have our technical talk later today. It's more or less defined, but they
Profe
still
John,
don't
Valentina
know it,
Peña
and they
para
are the
W Radio
first to be
Colombia.
told.
Para el profe
John,
primero,
coach Valentina Peña
hemos visto
for
dos funciones de
W
Panamá
Radio
muy
Colombia. For
diferentes
the
en cómo se
coach
presentaron en
first.
ese partido
We've
contra
seen two
Uruguay,
very
tanto que el
different
primer
facets
tiempo
of
ellos
Panama.
defendieron mucho
Many
más
remember
y
the
una
match
segunda
against
parte en la que
Uruguay,
iniciaron
where
el
they
ataque pues a un
defended much
candidato como lo
more
es
in the
Uruguay.
first half,
Con
and
el
the second
análisis que
half,
usted ha
where they
hecho, ¿qué
actually
espera
created trouble
de
for
este Panamá?
top
¿Espera un
contenders such
equipo
as
que se eche
Uruguay. Out
atrás
of your
o espera un
analysis, what
equipo
do
que
you
proponga un
expect
poco
from
más?
Panama?
Y
Do you
para
expect
John,
them to park the bus
esta mañana
or
me encontraba
to
con un dato muy interesante
attack
en
a little
Twitter,
bit
bueno,
more?
ahora
And
X,
for John,
y
I
es que
came
usted hace
across
parte de
something
esos
very
siete
interesting on
jugadores que
Twitter
jugaron
on
siete
X
partidos
today,
consecutivos con
and
la
that is
selección
that you
Colombia.
are one of those
¿Qué
seven
cree
players
usted
that
que es
have
lo que le ha
played
permitido mantener esa
seven
consistencia
consecutive
para ser
matches with
pieza
Colombia.
esencial de ese once
What do you
titular?
think has allowed you
Gracias.
to maintain that consistency to be a
Bueno,
starter
yo
for
creo
so long?
que no tiene una respuesta o una receta diferente al trabajo. Yo soy
I
una
don't
persona
think
que
that
trabaja mucho,
there's
que me dedico mucho,
no other
que doy
recipe
siempre lo
than
mejor de
work.
mí en
I
pro
work
del
hard,
colectivo.
I put
Entonces, como
in
tú
all
lo
my
dices,
effort, I
yo
always
yo
give
vengo
my best.
teniendo esa secuencia, vengo
And
teniendo
as
esa
you
buena
said,
dinámica con usted,
I've
profe, y
uh,
de mis compañeros,
had
y yo
the
intento
chance
cada
of
vez que
earning the
entro en la
coach
cancha rendir
trust
bien.
and my
Yo creo
teammates' trust. And
que,
every
como te
time I
digo,
go out on
yo
the
vengo
field, I
con
try
esa fortuna
to pay
de
it
que vengo teniendo
forward
la secuencia, más también
because
con esa ambición
I've
de cada
been
vez
fortunate
ser
enough
mejor
to
y
play all these
conseguir
matches,
mejorar tanto
but I still
individual
have that
y aportar
ambition
también a
to
lo
keep on
colectivo.
getting better, both individually and collectively as a team. It is true, we've seen that Panama has that capacity to hurt with fast transitions, with a high position in the field, and a very good performance on the part of their strikers. So we need to try to control the game, but yet aware that there are going to be times where they are going to demand a lot out of us. I don't know what's going to be the strategy on the part of the coach, whether they are going to um, wait or attack, and we are going to have to adjust depending on their strategy in the first half. The hardest part of the game is that Panama has shown two very interesting strategies. They are very good at defending, but they are dangerous in terms of their transitions.
Buenas tardes, un gusto, John. Un placer,
Good
profe.
afternoon,
Eduardo Luis para
John,
Winsports.
Coach
Como los veo
Eduardo
juntos, me
Luis for
parece que la pregunta
WinSports.
los relaciona de alguna manera.
Now that I
Profe,
see you
desde afuera,
together, I
el
want to ask
fútbol
a question
colombiano
for the
da,
both of you.
da la
From the
sensación de que
outside,
para
well, you
nosotros
know that there
el
are many
trabajo de John
approaches to
Arias es más
football, but
silencioso
for
que
us,
los
it
otros.
would seem
¿Nos podría
that
explicar un
John
poco por qué
Arias'
John
work
Arias
is
en
more
en
silent
su dirección
than
técnica y los
bright or
efectos creemos
striking?
que luce más como extremo
We
derecho
all
y se desarrolla
believe
de interior
that
por
as
izquierda en
a
general? ¿Nos
right
podría explicar un poco el por qué
winger,
si es así o
he's
exactamente qué es lo que está viendo usted que
more
nosotros no?
brilliant, but
Y si
with
John,
you, he's
nosotros
playing
desde
more
ese
on the
punto de vista
center.
creemos que usted está
And
incómodo, usted está
John,
cómodo y no ha
from our
hablado
point of view,
o
we
siente
feel
que
you
luce
are
más en la
uncomfortable.
posición
Are
por
you
fuera, donde
comfortable,
creemos
or
todos
you
que es
feel that when
más
you
a
work
la
on the
vista
along the
de todos.
flanks,
Gracias.
you have a brighter performance? Well, more than ever, you should be the first one to take that
Bueno,
question.
Eduardo, buenas tardes primero, un gusto también para mí.
Eduardo, good afternoon. First and
Y bueno,
foremost,
¿cómo te lo
it's
puedo
a
decir?
pleasure
Yo
to
creo
greet you today.
que yo, gracias a
And
Dios, a lo largo de mi carrera he podido
thank
convertirme en un
God,
jugador
throughout my
destacado. Tú
career,
lo dices
I've been able
claramente,
to
evidente
become a
en mi club
versatile
se juega con una
player.
formación diferente, un planteamiento
Clearly,
diferente.
we play with a different
Entonces,
lineup, a
por ahí
different
la posición es
strategy in
diferente
my
también.
club.
Más en temas de comodidad me
So
siento
that's
totalmente
why I play a
cómodo
different
en la posición de
position.
interior,
But
porque
beyond
aquí en la
that, I feel
selección
completely
el profe tiene
comfortable
un sistema diferente que todos
playing
ya lo
in the
conocen,
center
un
of the
sistema
field because the
un poco
coach has a
diferente y que
different
me ubica en una
system
posición
in
diferente,
our
pero yo me
national
siento
team,
realmente cómodo,
and
me
that
siento realmente
requires that I play in a
capacitado
different
también
position. I feel
para hacer tal
completely
función.
comfortable,
Y como lo
and I
digo claramente
feel
que yo soy una
I have
persona
everything it
autocrítica, una persona
takes to
autoexigente. Entonces,
play
como te
that
digo,
position.
yo
I
estoy tranquilo hasta
am
ahorita
very
porque
critical of
sé hacer mi trabajo,
myself,
pero con esa ambición de
and
cada
I
vez mejorar más.
am reassured by my performance while I keep on trying to improve. First and foremost, soccer players also show how intelligent they are by adapting to different positions. He when he was playing with Flu with Gimes, he had short transitions. He was playing inwards. He would appear anywhere in the field. But it's true that with the finishing, he usually appeared on the right. But when I see John, I see how simple and efficient his game is. You are saying that he does not have a brilliant performance in that position, but I believe that we're in the presence of a great football player. I always tell my midfielders, once Bocini was asked, do you remember the one that played 10 for Independiente in Argentina, that played so many Libertadores Cup and so many America Cups? And they asked him, how do you play so well? And he said, I do nothing. I just try to go where there's no one and I give it to the one that is alone. That is so simple and yet so efficient. And you need to be a very good soccer player in order to do that. And that's what John does. And that is why we value so much his performance. And the team recognizes him
Buenas
as a
tardes,
very
habla Carlos
important
Villamil de
player.
eSports, aquí
Good
frente.
afternoon, Carlos
Profe,
Villamil
la
in
pregunta para
the
usted es
Sports.
sobre el rival, sobre
Um,
Panamá, un equipo que
Coach, the question is
mantiene la
about your
posesión
opponent,
cercana al
about
50%,
Panama,
un poco más de
a
300
team
pases por
that
partido.
retains
Lo primero, ¿qué
possession
tanto puede
approximately
condicionar
at
el rival
50%,
a la
over
selección
300
colombiana?
passes per
Análisis que usted hace en
match.
el planteamiento
So, how
para el
much do you
partido.
think
Y
Colombia
para
may be
John, si bien
conditioned by
tiene un
Panama
rol
during the match?
protagónico durante las pailotas
For
paradas, las
John,
pailotas
although you
quietas,
play a
háblenos
starring
de ese
role
trabajo
in
que está
set
realizando en la
asides,
selección
can you
y
talk
que ha
about
sido
the
tan
work that
eficiente
you've
en
been
esta
doing
Copa
with the
América y en
national
otros
team
amistosos?
that
Gracias.
has resulted in such an efficient performance
Bueno,
in
yo
Copa
creo
America and
que
in previous
en esta
matches?
copa hemos demostrado
I believe
también
that
nuestra
during this
fortaleza en las rutas
tournament,
aéreas, como
we've
tú lo
been
dices,
able
tanto
to
ofensivas como
prove
defensivas. Yo creo
our strength
que
in
pasa más por un tema
set
de
asides
percepción,
and in crossings,
que tú lo
both
dices,
offensive and
porque
defensive.
nosotros tenemos excelentes
And I
jugadores,
think
tenemos
there's a
excelentes
matter of
también cabeceadores,
perception
rematadores,
associated
entonces yo
to
creo
it.
que
We have
también es
very
una
good
fortaleza nuestra a la hora
we have players that are very
de la
good
bola
at
parada, porque la bola
headers
parada
and
te puede definir un partido, te puede
set
quitar la
asides can
clasificación.
actually be
Entonces yo creo
decisive
que
for a
no pasa
match
mucho por no ser
or
protagónico.
for
Yo creo
qualifying to
que
the next
hasta aquí
round.
mi asistencia en la Copa
It's not about
América
playing
es
a
en una
starring
pelota
role.
parada. Entonces yo, como te lo
So
digo,
far, my assist in
claramente
Copa America came from set
no solo
asides.
realmente viene siendo algo que en lo cual estamos prestando mucha
But
atención a la hora de ir en
it's
contra,
not
sino que
only
también estamos
something
usando
that we're
muy bien
focusing a
nuestro
lot
juego.
when we need to attack, but we are using it very well when we need to resort to that strategy. Panama's game will condition us in as much as we cannot maintain possession of the ball and keep control of the game, right? Because it would appear that their strategy is similar to that of Costa Rica, but probably they are stronger on one-on-ones because they are very physically strong, and that is what we
Profe,
need
por
to
aquí,
try to
John,
neutralize.
Carlos Gamboa del
Coach
canal
over here,
RCN,
John Carlos
para John, y quería
Gamboa for
preguntarle cómo les había
RCN.
ido con el calor,
For John,
qué
I wanted
hablaron
to
cuando les
ask
tocaba
him
regresar aquí a
how you've been
Glendale, que la
doing with the
temperatura estuvo
heat.
bastante alta
What did
esta
you
mañana en el
discuss
último
when you had to come
entrenamiento.
here to
Y al profe le quería
Glendale?
preguntar,
The
en
temperature was
estos
pretty high in
juegos
the
ya que ha
last
tenido
training
la
session
selección,
this
¿cuál ha
morning.
sido tal vez
And
la
for the
parte del
coach, I wanted to
partido
ask
de
you in
cualquiera de
these
ustedes
matches of the
con el que
national
más se haya
team,
sentido satisfecho
what
por el
has
equipo? Que
been
usted haya
the
dicho, esto lo
portion of
quiero
the
y esto es lo que
match
quiero
of
durante
the
los
last
90
three
minutos?
matches
¿Hay un
that made you
momento
feel more
específico en
satisfied,
alguno de
like
los tres
saying,
juegos?
I don't know, this is what I want over the whole 90 minutes?
Bueno, del calor,
About the
creo que
heat,
le hemos cogido un poquito de cariño al calor porque
well,
nos ayuda
I
a sentir un
believe
poquito
we've
más cerca de
gotten
Barranquilla.
used to it
Entonces, como te
because it
digo,
makes
yo
us
creo
feel a bit closer to
que nosotros
Barranquilla.
queríamos volver aquí a Glendale porque
So
queríamos ser los primeros de grupo.
we wanted to come back here to Glendale because we wanted to be ranked first in our groups, in our group. What was your question again? Uh, well, tough. It's hard for me to find some minutes in a match because there have been some moments I just say, this is the position I want from the team. This is how I want to play. This is how we are subduing our opponent. But it's so hard to maintain that for the whole 90 minutes. We had control of the match with Costa Rica for a longer period of time, I'd say. It was a little bit more consistent throughout the match, and it
¿Cómo les
was
va?
also
Feliz
the one
tarde.
where we got
Sebastián
the
Vargas del
best
Caracol Radio
result.
aquí atrás, profe.
How are you
Para
doing,
John Gamboa.
Sebastián Vargas from Caracol Radio over here at the back?
Profe, ¿qué tan importante
Coach,
es la media distancia mañana?
how
Ya que mañana
important
usted a
will
ellos
mid
la
distance
media distancia
be
porque queda que
tomorrow?
pues que
And
es el
how
último
much
partido, no
focus
recuerdo
do
muy bien, goles
you
históricos
put
de
on
Copa
that?
América, no
Because
recuerdo algún gol
over
de media distancia y
the
si esa va a ser una
last
de las
matches, I don't
claves
remember
ante
any
Panamá.
mid
Gracias.
distance, mid range shots, none in Copa America, I believe. Well, focusing on something, I may say that, I may insist on that, but every soccer player has their own characteristics. And we always encourage these mid range shots and we even practice them. I believe that we have not scored with a mid range shot in Copa America, but we had some good mid range shots. We have soccer players that do a very good job from
Hola,
outside the
buena
box.
tarde. Jaime Dinas de
Good
Telepacífico
afternoon,
y
Jaime
de
Medina, Telepacífico,
101.9 Candela Solo
and
Éxitos. John Adolfo, en tu
101.9
función
Candela Solo
individual va a cambiar algo tu
Éxitos.
trabajo ante la ausencia
John Adolfo,
de
in your
Jefferson Lerma y
individual
para
position, do you
Néstor.
think your work is
Técnico, es
going
el
to be
primer
different
equipo
because of
en
the
enfrentar
absence of Jefferson Lerma?
técnicos
And
este
for the
europeo,
coach, Nestor,
a
is it the
diferencia de
first team
Paraguay,
that you are?
a diferencia de
No,
Costa
this
Rica
is
o
the
de Brasil.
first team
¿Eso
you are
condiciona el
facing with the
rendimiento colectivo
European
del
coach,
conjunto
unlike
panameño?
Paraguay, unlike Costa Rica. Does that condition the collective performance
Bueno,
of the
yo creería
Panamanian team?
que no, porque yo creo que también una
I don't think so
de las ventajas que tiene el profe a su disposición y también
because I
el
believe
inteligente
that
grupo, que
one
tenemos
of the
grandes jugadores,
coaches'
tenemos realmente un grupo muy
strengths
parejo, un grupo muy
is the
parejo, son muy
collective
fuertes.
balance.
Entonces,
We have
yo
a very
creo
strong team,
que los
a
jugadores, como el profesor
very
dijo, que son los
even
opcionados
team,
para reemplazar a
and as the
Lerma,
coach
tienen las
said,
condiciones
the
necesarias y las aptitudes necesarias
players that may
para
fill
hacer un
in
gran trabajo
for
y que la
Lerma
selección se lo
has
haga muy
everything it
equilibrado.
takes to have a great performance so that we won't feel his absence that much. I said that in another press conference a few days ago. Since they've had this coach, Panama has become much more organized. They've found a game style that has allowed them to get as far as they've come, and that is quite valuable. I don't know if this is because he's European or it is the Spanish school or the South American style, but it's a team that knows their game and that
Buenas
shows they
tardes,
are
profe.
proving it.
John Liche Durán para ESPN
Good
Colombia.
afternoon,
Para John
Coach
primero,
John
necesito un
Liche
pique
Duran
para
for ESPN
cogerle
Colombia. For
cariño
John first.
a este calor,
I need
porque
the
yo amo
tip
Barranquilla y
to
todavía
become
con lo
fond
yo
of this
coge
heat because
cariño,
I
pero
love
en
Barranquilla
Brasil,
and
en su
I
club,
still
es
find
un
it very
jugador
hard
que
to be
toca mucho
here.
el área,
But
que
in Brazil,
enseña,
in your
extraña
club,
el gol,
you work
aquí en
very much
Selección
on the
Colombia un poco. Y para el
box
profe,
and
durante estos
even you
días,
find the net
pese a
often.
que
Do you
sobre el
miss the goal
papel
here? And for
Colombia es
the
superior a
coach,
Panamá, el partido hay que jugarlo
despite the
y lo
fact
hemos
that
dicho.
Colombia
Lo que
has
voy a
had a
manejar
better
es
performance than
guardapesados.
Panama so
Es
far,
preguntarle por James Rodríguez, que ha
and
jugado
we
tres
still
partidos
need to play
fantásticos
this match.
en
James
esta Copa
Rodriguez has
América.
played three
¿Cómo
great
está y
matches
si
in Copa
piensa de alguna
America.
manera para lo que le resta y para
How
los
is he
partidos que viene,
doing? And
de cierta manera poder cuidarlo desde
do
lo
you think that
físico
you can
en el
actually
partido de mañana?
preserve him physically in tomorrow's match for
Bueno, yo
oncoming
creo
matches?
que más allá que extrañar el gol, yo soy una
I
persona,
think
como lo
that
dije, y
more
vuelvo a
than
reiterar,
missing the net,
yo soy muy autoexigente conmigo, soy
let me
autoexigente con mi juego.
reiterate that I
Claramente que
am
siempre quiero marcar, siempre
very
quiero
self
participar,
demanding.
siempre
Of
quiero
course,
aportar,
I always want to score a
pero
goal.
también,
I
como te
always want to
digo,
be
sé que a
involved. I always
veces
want to
los
assist and
partidos
contribute.
se diseñan de una
But I'm
manera
also
diferente.
aware
Como te digo, yo
that
hasta ahorita estoy muy
matches
tranquilo
sometimes
porque ha sido un
unfold in a
trabajo
different manner.
y yo
So,
creo
so
que
far,
aquí en
I'm
selección
pleased with
también,
my
bueno,
own
como recuerdas hace un
performance.
rato,
And I
también
believe that
depende mucho de la
here in the
perspectiva.
national team, as
Yo
I
creo
said
que en los
earlier,
últimos 4 o 5
um,
partidos llevo 2 goles
everything
y una
has to do with
asistencia.
perspective.
Entonces
Over the last
no es que lleve
four,
mucho
five
tiempo sin
matches, I've
anotar, pero
scored two
claramente
goals and
que
one
cada partido que
assistance.
pasa yo quiero
So
anotar,
it's
yo
not
quiero
that I haven't
participar,
scored
yo
for
quiero,
that long.
yo quiero
Of
estar
course, I
ahí.
want to
Mi
score in
trabajo
every
también va a
single
ser ese.
match. I want to be there, and I'm working to accomplish that. No, still the coach. Yeah, James. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead. James is going to be in tomorrow's match. The team needs him, and Colombia needs to give its best to win the match. We cannot be thinking of the next match before we are very serious and responsible in taking on tomorrow's match. So he's going to play. And he's okay. And now Ricardo Arce, Pacifico, and Zona Uno. How have you doing with working with a player that, like Borrell that is a negative trend? That's not natural in our country. And coach, how did you get this Colombian team to look in the eyes any other national team on the planet?
Rafa, si me lo preguntas, para mí es un ejemplo.
Well, if you
Es un
ask
ejemplo
me,
de
Rafa
alguien
is an
profesional,
example. He's a role
profesional de
model.
persona
He's a role
y es
model,
un
professionally
ejemplo de
speaking,
dedicación.
and
Yo creo que,
humanly
como tú lo
speaking.
dices,
And he's an example of
infelizmente
dedication.
tenemos memoria
As
corta
you
en un fútbol,
said,
porque,
unfortunately,
como te digo,
in football,
Rafa
we have a very
es
short
un delantero
memory
de una
because, as
calidad
I said,
excepcional
Rafa is a
que
striker
nos
of
aporta muchísimo y que es
exceptional
una pieza
quality,
también
and
fundamental
that
para esta
is
selección. Como
um,
tú dices, el grupo, yo creo que el
very
grupo es muy
valuable
unido, que
piece
nos
in
respaldamos
this
unos a
team.
los
And
otros.
as you
Yo
said
creo
it, our group is
que
very closely
Rafa
united and we
sabe
support
y
one
él es muy
another.
consciente de que
And
cuenta con ese
Rafa
apoyo por
knows
parte de
it.
absolutamente
He's
todos los de
extremely
acá.
aware that he's supported by every one of us. Yeah, and let us not overreact. He just missed a goal. I mean, it was a tough ball and he couldn't score, but everything he does for the team is extremely valuable. Yeah, well, this is not something that we've accomplished. It's only natural that anyone that will lead a team needs to tell the team, you can do it. You have what it takes. I mean, how could anyone coach these kind of players and go out on the field to get a draw? No. You should always aim for the stars. And this is the path we are on. We are growing every day. We've been growing for the last 2 years, and we are craving further growth for the journey, for our future. And if at all possible, we want to be among America's
Muy buenas
four
tardes, mi nombre es Hugo Luis
best
Pichurto del Olímpica
teams.
Estéreo Barranquilla y programa Punto Penal de Telecaribe.
From Olímpica Stadium
Profe,
Barranquilla
primera
and
vez
programa Punto
la selección
Penal in
colombiana llega
Telecaribe.
como favorita a
Coach,
Panamá.
it's the first time that the
Parte suya
Colombian
el
national
conocer
team
una
is a
posición como esta.
favorite in
¿Cómo
Copa
maneja
America.
usted
This team
psicológicamente,
had never
mentalmente
been
el
in
grupo
such a
favorito?
position in its
Que
history.
Colombia
So,
enfrenta a
how
un
do
rival como
you
Brasil y sale
advise
adelante.
the team
Se
from a
enfrenta a un rival
psychological
pequeño
standpoint?
que quiere
You
complicar,
take
quiere
on
salir adelante y
Brazil
casi
and you
todo lo
move
logra.
forward. You take
Pero
on
viendo que el
a
fútbol es tan raro a veces, la selección de
weaker
Argentina
opponent
se fue desde el
and
punto
you get
penal con
through
el
it.
equipo del Ecuador,
Look at
que nadie esperaba eso.
Argentina. I
Entonces su
mean,
mente
they
también
ended
tiene
up
eso, piensa
defining
en
by
penales, todo lo
penalties
tiene
with
planificado
Ecuador. No
para
one was expecting
cualquier
that.
adversidad en el
Have you
compromiso,
planned out
sea eso.
everything for any odds, for any outcome? Are you thinking of the penalties? Well, of course you need to be prepared for everything because there's no logic to football. In football, it's not about deserving, it's not about having shots on target. It's about having the best performance. Of course, you need to have a better performance than your opponent. You need to have more shots on target than your opponent. And you need to control the game and try to dominate your opponent. But then only God can tell. You need to be ready. We've practiced, and only God knows what will happen tomorrow. But as I said, there's no logic. We need to be ready for anything. And about being a favorite, well, I think we've responded that before. We are taking it game by game, and we have played as seriously against every one of our rivals with the same professionalism and with the same style. So we see how far we can get with our game. Coach over here, Ronnie Vargas, El Marcador in Panama. I believe it's the only Panamanian asking a question today. And shortly ago, my daughter climbed on my car and uh, she said, Colombia's president said that Panama needs to be part of Colombia once again. There is a historical backdrop against this because we used to be part of Colombia. And from a football standpoint, Panama has always looked up to Colombia. Today, we are looking the Colombian players in the eye. For Panama, it's the very first time that we are in the quarterfinals for Copa America, and our whole country is going to be paralyzed in front of TV screens. So Panama appears against Colombia as the Cinderella in Copa America, and this is highly emotional for us. How do you see it? Do you see Panama as the Cinderella in this tournament? Not at all. I believe that our perspective, our context is different. Understanding Panamanian expectations tomorrow will actually make us be on the alert tomorrow as in any other match. But this is one of the characteristics of this team. We play every match with the same level of demand, with the same attitude. But it's great to hear how they are approaching the game and how many emotions it is arousing among Panamanians because it's useful for us for our performance as well.
Finaliza la conferencia. Muchas gracias a todos. Buenas tardes
With
para
this, we
todos. Buenas
conclude this
tardes.
press conference. Thank you very much and good afternoon.